Does having an autoimmune condition mean that your immune system and your body is at war with you, or that your body is weak and vulnerable and can develop unexpected disease just out of the blue without any reason whatsoever? Is that really true? And are you the kind of person who really believes that, who would continue to believe that even when you actually know that you can't be at war with your own body and heal at the same time, right? So, are you really sure that it is the case that the immune system gets confused, it stops attacking pathogens, and it starts attacking your own tissue instead? Again, for no rhyme or reason, right? So, if this is you, then this session will open your eyes, to a very different kind of reality. And my name is Anindita, and I am a functional medicine certified health coach, and I help support women with autoimmune conditions reverse their symptoms and finding their power to heal by working with their bodies instead of against their bodies, using a very powerful 3 pillar framework called body wise healing. So, the problem I find when I work with women with autoimmune conditions, specifically where we know that the immune system is for some reason attacking the own tissues, body's own tissue, is that we believe that the only solution is to fight our bodies, right? Is to fight our bodies, suppress our immune system, keep it suppressed artificially with the help of medications, take immune suppressing medications or oral steroids for the rest of our lives, right? And again, it's not that we should not be taking medications are life saving, and of course can prevent further damage and long term damage. So it is actually important in the short to medium term, and also to make the symptoms more manageable, but that's not the solution, because by suppressing our immune system, we are not able to, we are only just tackling the symptoms, we are not even addressing the root cause. So, and then what happens is that when we keep on doing this and we keep on hoping against hope that we'll get better, we give away all our power to the disease. So very soon we are in a place where we are actually literally asking for permission from the disease to live our life, right? Whether we want to go out with our family, whether we want to enjoy dancing again, walking again, jogging on the beach, running and playing with our children, having fun with our pets, right? It seems like we are constantly asking for permission from our disease to do all of these things, right? Because we don't recognize our bodies anymore, and we feel that all up, we feel powerless and helpless. Right, so this was the case with my client when she came to work with me 6 months ago. She's actually finishing and she's going to be resuming working with me for another 6 months. And she had multiple autoimmune conditions. She already had, her cancer was already in remission, but many different symptoms, on many medications to manage it, because there's so many things that are going on in her life, right? So there's so many things, and in her case, she actually, and in so many other cases like hers, where she has been only focusing on medications, that was the primary focus area, and not really understanding what role her body has to play with, and how to make peace with her body, and how to find a way to support it. So she felt powerless, she felt helpless, and defeated, and that's actually what I call a very warrior. So while she was fighting, people in this kind of situation of course want to live, so they will try and do everything, but they are tired, they are defeated. So which is why I call them very warriors, and she in fact was a very warrior at that time. And so it's only when we started working together that she understood why her immune system was behaving in this manner, her body was behaving in this aggressive manner, and what she could do, because she had so much that in her power. What are the things that she could do? What are the tools that she could use to bring her immune system back into balance by working with and not against her body? So we use the body wise healing framework. It's a 3 pillar framework, and I'm going to talk a bit about it a bit later. And that made all the difference, because she finally felt at peace, she finally felt at home in her body. And while her problems have not miraculously disappeared, because there's so many ongoing issues, she of course feels much better now. She feels more in control, she feels more empowered, more confident, right? And that's what the healing journey looks like. It's not about overturning all the symptoms and becoming completely symptom free in 6 months, 3 months. That's typically not possible when you have been dealing with a condition for many, many decades, right? And these diseases usually go on to develop over decades. So, but you can start feeling better, healthier, more energetic, more control, more empowered, happier, peaceful in your body. So all this is certainly possible as you move towards being an inner healer, right? So that's where we are moving. This client of mine, we are working together. It's a partnership, and so from a very warrior, she's actually sort of moved towards what I call an empowered healer, and then I would like her to move towards being an inner healer, where she's mostly actually just tuning into her own body's wisdom and continuing to make the changes and sustain all the improvement that she sees while working with me, right? So that's the goal, and you can do that too. That's certainly possible if you follow a step-by-step process. But you need to understand that your immune system is not really at war with you. It is behaving because it's the environment that you are asking your body to live in. And because what happens when we start living with this kind of a disease is that lurking at the back of our minds is our belief that now this is a lifelong situation, like we have this disease for life and that we cannot simply do anything about it. There is no way out and it cannot be reversed. There is nothing really that we can do apart from just taking these medications and managing more and more symptoms and taking medication for those symptoms and those side effects, etc. Right? So, but I want you to ask yourself, if that were true, that was the only solution that was possible, and that was a true solution, then everyone who took these medications would find relief, wouldn't they? They would get better, they would be free of pain. They would have not gone on to develop more autoimmune conditions, more symptoms that typically happens in the case of this complex chronic disease, right? But that's not what usually happens. In fact, it's just the opposite, right? So what's really going on? What really happens with people with autoimmune conditions is that they actually go on to develop more autoimmune conditions, right? So what's going on is that we haven't really understood how to address the root cause, which is immune dysregulation. And immune dysregulation, I've talked about it. I've talked about the storm behind autoimmune activation, where gut health is involved, where genes are involved, and an environmental trigger is involved. So I'm not going to get into that, but certainly addressing immune dysregulation starts with supporting your body. And I just talked about that, right? So whether it's addressing deficiencies, underlying imbalances, figuring out what's going on with your gut, reducing your toxic burden, managing your stress levels, all these are the factors which are at play, which you need to focus on, right? So all this is so that you can bring your immune system back into balance again. Because what happens when you don't do this, irrespective of whether you have a diagnosis right now, whether you have multiple diagnoses right now, what happens when you don't do this? What we know is that we need to, if we don't identify if we have an autoimmune conditions, we are 3 times as likely to develop one more condition. So 3 times higher the risk than another person with no autoimmune conditions at all. Which is why it's so important to identify the drivers and address the root causes of dysregulated immune system, right? That's why, because we want to stop this dysregulation to go on and the immune system to actually claim another victim, which can be any another part of the body, any kind of other tissue, leading to multiple autoimmune diseases, right? So that's how it works, and we can take measures and prevent ourselves from developing a second, third, fourth, and so on so forth conditions, and maybe a severity of symptoms that keeps increasing, the number of symptoms that keeps increasing. I've had clients with 200 symptoms, 250 symptoms, right? And when they've stopped working with me, their symptoms have reduced to about 50 or 40, which is much more manageable, because a lot of the symptoms usually resolves by themselves. We don't go symptom by symptom. It's not possible to do that, even if we wanted to, with 200 to 50 symptoms, because a lot of them are unexplained. They are unexplained simply because we cannot see all the hidden connections. But in functional medicine, that's the modality that I follow, where we actually figure out what are the interconnectedness that are possibly and likely going on. And when we start addressing the root, when we start laying a healing foundation, many of these symptoms actually resolve by themselves. So we don't really need to go symptom by symptom. So no matter what the diagnosis is, we need to address the root of immune dysregulation, and that's where your power lies, right? So your immune system, when it comes back into balance, it is actually able to do the job that it's supposed to be doing, which is to protect you, right? So it is a very, very powerful system, and it has evolved over millions of years. So your role is to create an environment in which your immune system can be in balance and do its job properly. So your immune system and your body is not your enemy. If there is only one thing that you take away from today's session, this is it. Your immune system is not at war with you. Your body is not your enemy, and they are not at war with you. You have to give your body a chance to heal. You have to provide an environment in which your body thrives and your immune system is back in balance. So where do you go from here, right? So how do you do that? So in my coaching program, Healing from Within, I help women with autoimmune conditions do this using a step-by-step process, which is based on the framework. I call it body-wise healing framework. It has 3 pillars, 3 very powerful pillars: reconnect, simplify, and sustain. The reconnect pillar is the one that I take my clients through, which helps my clients to understand and connect with their bodies, or reconnect rather with their body's wisdom, and be guided by what their bodies are telling them. And they finally understand why their body is choosing to behave in this manner, why their immune system is choosing to behave in this manner, and how they can actually sort of, as I said, how they can bring the immune system back into balance, which is all about addressing immune dysregulation, its gut health, stress, etc., right? Food, diet, all of it in that. But understanding this, understanding what's going on and what should be your priority area is most important, right? Because we can change our diets all we want, we can do many number of things, we can do test after test, take supplement after supplement. If we don't understand why we are taking those, why we are doing those tests, why it is important to make these changes in our life, in our diet, in our lifestyle, we will not really end up doing it with the commitment that it needs, with the effort that it requires, and sustain it over a long period of time, right? It's not about you doing this just for another 6 weeks or 8 weeks of fat dieting or something like that. It's not that. It's about the rest of your life. A lot of these changes that you will make will have to be for the rest of your life, which is something that I explain to my clients. It's about what your body needs right now, and that's going to keep changing for the rest of your life, right? So you need to, but the beauty is that once you know how to tune into your body, you will be able to keep on tweaking these things, making adjustments as you go along, right? And the framework that I help my clients follow give them all the tools that they need to do this, so they don't have to keep on running back to me once they are in a stable position. So I want you to start here, and I want you to keep these 3 things in mind, right? So these 3 things that I want you to keep in mind as you think about how you want to proceed with this. One is, make it your number 1 priority to prove to your immune system and your body that the world is an increasingly safe place, right? So with your actions, with the choices, dietary choices that you make, with the lifestyle choices that you make, so whether it's the foods that you're eating or not eating, so plenty of vegetables, plenty of anti-inflammatory foods like seeds, nuts, vegetables, etc., healthy fat, healthy protein, sleeping on time, getting enough rest, moving your body, all of these are choices that you're going to make on a daily basis, which is going to help managing your stress levels. Again, very important. Stress itself is a big driver for chronic inflammation, which goes hand in hand with these kind of conditions. Living with a disease like this is also inherently stressful. So all of these measures that if you can take will prove to your immune system that it's a safe environment, that it can lay down its guard and it can come back into balance. Like, that's what we need to do. And this is the number 1 place that I take ask my clients to start, right? So it gives your immune system and your body the message that all is well. Like if you remember that song, All Is Well, this is exactly what you need to, the message that you need to give to your immune system and your body, that all is well, and it can come back into balance and it can relax its guard, right? So that's the number one thing. Number two is eliminate gluten 100%, and maybe dairy, a lot of, most of the times, and maybe even other grains for some of my clients. So gluten itself contributes to enhanced intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut, and I've talked about that earlier. You can check out my other videos on YouTube or here on IGTV, and it's one of the major contributing factors towards enhanced intestinal permeability. And enhanced intestinal permeability is one of the three things that perfect storm that lies behind the perfect storm for autoimmune disease activation. So removing gluten is again a very, very important step that you need to take if you are dealing with any kind of, this kind of health issue. So it helps to stop, activating or triggering an immune response, and helps to calm down your immune system. And the third thing is to commit to this healing process for at least 1 year. I know this is quite hard to take in, and for most of my clients, when they come to me, they ask me, when am I going to feel better, when I'm going to get better, how long will it take? And my answer to them is, it depends, right? It depends on your body, it depends on your environment, it depends on what has been going on, how much damage has there been done already. It depends on all of this. It depends on the effort that you could put in, but most of all, it depends on your, the pace that your body is comfortable moving at. Right, so the answer is actually it depends. But what I've found is, after working with many such clients, many women with autoimmune conditions, other chronic illnesses, that it takes about a year, especially for those who have been dealing with these kind of diseases for years and decades. It takes about a year to actually come to a very stable position. You will start seeing improvements, right from the beginning. You will start seeing your symptoms come, some of the symptoms resolving by themselves. You will start seeing health improvements, increasing energy levels, reduction in pain, all these things, reduction in brain fog. You will see all these improvements right from the beginning. So you'll know you're on the right track. But what I found is, to reach a place of stability, it takes usually about a year. So you have to commit to this process for at least a year. I give your body that much of time to heal, create that environment, lay the foundation. And believe me, all these things take time. To change eating habits, to change our lifestyle patterns, to make different choices, it takes time, right? We are used to doing things in a certain way for the last 40, 50, maybe 60 years, and then we can't expect to change all of that overnight. So, but committing, to this is like going on a journey. And it makes sense when you're going on a journey like this, which is going to be a lifelong journey, to enjoy the journey as much as you can, rather than trying to just reach the end goal. Of course, the end goal is very important, especially when we're dealing with any kind of chronic illness, but it really helps to enjoy the journey also as we go along. And that's something that I also teach inside my coaching program. As I said, I use this step-by-step framework, and I take my clients through this 3-pillar step-by-step framework called Body Wise Healing. So it just makes it easier for because there's so many things to focus on. It just makes it easier to know what step you should be taking first, and what is the next step, and the next step. Once you start seeing the changes, you start seeing symptoms coming off, and you start feeling better and better. And because you are learning along the way how to tune into your body, you start noticing things that you never ever noticed before, right? Whether it's that minor change in improvement in your memory, whether it's that you don't have that much of joint pain anymore, small thing which you probably would have never paid attention to or didn't pay so much of attention to, that's something that you start seeing, and that really is something that can motivate you, right? So, and that's the beauty of doing it in this manner. So if you would want a clear roadmap for your healing journey, for you to move from being and feeling like a very warrior to an inner healer, then you can schedule a free 45 minutes discovery call with me. This is free of charge. We can just have a chat, and we can discuss how this you can actually get a roadmap for your unique healing journey, and just DM me with the word call, and I will send you a link to schedule the call. If you have any questions, drop in your questions in the comments below and I'll get back to you.